We've been fortunate to be able to expand the Jacob Abraham Foundation. Thank you to the Big Lottery funding. We are running more groups. We are doing more one-to-one support. We set up telephone counselling. We set up Zoom counselling. Some people prefer that. It might work for some people to come into a room and sit face to face. It could be a park. It's just about meeting that individual's needs. We also run bereavement support group. We meet once a month. Sometimes if the group want to have a treat, we'll go to the theatre or we'll do high tea, we'll do walks. It's about kind of like working towards moving forward and not to feel guilty about kind of enjoying yourself again and rebuilding a life. With bereavement by suicide, there's so many different layers to it. It's so complex. All the what ifs, the could haves, the should haves. There's the guilt, there's the stigma, even down to kind of telling somebody how our loved one had died. We had no support to begin with. So I just thought something needs to change. You can't help yourself, so you can't help your children, your spouse, your mum, your dad, whoever else is struggling and have gone through this horrendous trauma. Like a wraparound support. We know there's very little support for children, so I think it's about children being able to have their time, their space through play and in a safe environment that they can process the grief. What I wanted to do is not for people to go through this alone. There's a shared understanding, and that's what you need. To know you're not going through this alone, it just helps massively. The journey changes from month to month to year. I think it's great for somebody perhaps newly bereaved to see somebody that's further down the journey and how far they've come, because I think at the beginning it's something that you think that you will never survive. I think there's a myth that if people talk about suicide, they're going to put that idea into their head, and that is not the case, because when somebody is having thoughts of suicide, they want to be able to talk about it. A lot of people talk openly about their physical ailments. They'll happily share a headache or a bad tummy, but nobody shares kind of mental health. I think we need to be able to say there's something don't feel right. I feel a bit anxious. I don't think I can cope. Where we talk so openly about suicide, and that's our name, that's what's on the can, with suicide intervention and prevention, it enables people to pick up the phone and talk openly about their thoughts. It's just knowing not to act on them. They're just a thought and they will pass. I think that's the most important thing, is knowing that whatever you're feeling, it's never permanent, that it will pass. And just being able to find somebody in your life or something, a strategy, I suppose, to get you through that thought process. You might come back another day or in a year or 10 years, but knowing what your coping mechanism is until that passes again. And that could be people, places, accessing services, whatever that is. And I think that's what we do. We help people explore their safety strategies and their coping mechanisms. And we've seen many people, they've come in, they want to die that day. In 3 months, seeing their lives change drastically, and they come in, they're completely different people. They're in a different space, they're happier, and you just think, gosh, you could have acted in that moment. And they just need somebody to listen to. And then you can just draw in others. You can draw in family members or friends or services, GP, whatever that is. I just didn't want Jacob to die in vain, and I just thought, I'm not going to sit back and do nothing here. There's so much that I can do to kind of raise awareness, and just being able to have a place that someone can go and say, I'm thinking of suicide. Come here, let's get through this. We can get you through this. It's helped me as well to help others, because I think suicide's not taking my son and I'm sitting back and doing nothing. I will fight this. I always said if I could save one family from going through this horrific pain, then it would be a lifetime achievement. And we have probably supported over 50, 60 families. We've had over 250 people come through the door who wanted to end their lives. They're all still here today. And that's what we want. Here we are. Please reach out. Reach out. We're here for you.
My name's Amanda. I am the office manager. I take the first response calls. I coordinate the fundraising as well, promote They're fantastic fundraising initiatives on our social media groups. If you're in need of support, you're going to come through and speak to a friendly face. You're going to come through and speak to somebody who understands, will be empathetic. There's no judgment involved in any of it. It's a brave thing to do, to reach out for help. You'll only ever be received by a friendly, supportive and empathetic voice on the end of that phone. If the phone call is a bit too daunting for you, there's always social media. You can reach out to us, you can send us an email. It's all very confidential. Once I've passed details and the phone number over to the therapists, they'll make contact to introduce themselves via a text message. Then they'll look to book in when it's convenient with the individual to have that one-to-one intervention. We've got employers ringing up for employees, we've got friends ringing up for concerns of friends, relatives ringing up on behalf of loved ones. People come in, when they're at crisis, they're in a really dark place, and it's so lovely to see them walking away. We've had some amazing feedback and verbatims of people.
I'm Hannah and I'm a therapist in the Jacob Abraham Foundation. Within that role, I do a few different things. One-to-one therapy, facilitate some groups, monthly free community training, suicide brief intervention training in schools, large organisations, smaller charities. The aim of the training is to raise awareness of suicide and to help people feel that they can support someone either with a prevention plan, a suicide safety plan, or to help them access support. Raising awareness of it, so whether that's a poster up, something on a team meeting agenda, continuing to talk about suicide and continuing to talk about mental health, and to say that it's okay, mental health varies. We help someone by being there to let someone talk about how they're feeling, and sometimes just listening, just saying, let it out, and it's a safe space to do that. Suicide is something I talk about, and it's something we're open and honest about here, and it's okay to talk about it, and we want the person to feel like this is a place they can come and say, things have really got this bad for me, I'm really struggling with this. We look at doing some strategies then, after you've done a suicide safety plan, things like people to contact when the thoughts come, distractions, activities to do, relaxation or breathing exercises, and sometimes just getting outside, and we'll go for a walk and look at nature, try to ground ourselves. But often when people come in, it's just having someone to say, I can just talk to you and you'll take it and you can listen and not be judged, not be given answers and solutions straight away, just be listened to. What our main aim here is to stop those suicidal thoughts go into an action, managing the thoughts or adapting ways of living with them, putting in strategies to help get through them. The intensity of them might be a build-up of things. It might be that the thoughts have come out of the blue and they're not really sure why, and sometimes we don't know why, but it's that it's okay, you can get through this. Small changes, things like, I had a good couple of hours today, or I didn't have so many thoughts today. The suicide is still there, but actually I'm not thinking about it all the time, so they can start living their lives and doing things or planning things for the future, whether that's just that it's the weekend coming up, or it's I'm going to watch a really nice film tonight. What you're doing when you're asking someone about suicide is you're giving them permission to be open and honest. You're opening up the conversations. You're not putting an idea in someone's head. But there's always something that can be done. Thoughts and emotions change. They don't stay the same. And people will say, they'll talk about, gosh, where I was and where I am now. And they can't believe the difference in how they feel. But at the time, they struggle to see that will be the difference. But it's just holding their hand through it and going, this is painful, this is hard, and it's like trudging, through treacle for them sometimes, but just saying, hold on, we're just going to do it together, slowly. Seeing people have hope again is brilliant. Seeing people smiling, just some of the pain easing, those are the things that make me continue to do the work.
So I'm Joyce and I'm a play therapist here at the Jacob Abraham Foundation. I help children who have been bereaved through suicide. I offer one-to-one, but I also do family sessions. I can do that in the office here. We have a lovely room and we have lots of play equipment, but I can also do that at schools as well. Referrals normally come from families who have maybe been in contact with us or from schools. So an initial meeting with the parents or carers would kind of fill in a referral form, name, address, GP surgery, what their concerns are for the child, what behaviour they've been showing. But I also add as well what goals they would like to see, and normally it's like a happier child or being able to understand their feelings a bit better. We'll offer like 14 to 16 sessions, depending on what the child needs. The sessions are for 50 minutes. But if it's a younger child and the child needs less time, like half an hour, and we'll go with whatever fits for the child. I ask the child, do you know why you're coming? Sometimes they say, I don't know, or they'll know. And then we'll talk through, because they need to know at the beginning. And I always ask the child, do they want to come back next week? Because it's their choice. It's voluntary, they don't have to come. We create a safe environment, a safe place for a child, away from school, away from family. So they have that 50 minutes where they can play out their feelings. We have a lot of therapeutic toys, therapeutic books, puppets. With the bereavement work as well, we do a lot of memory work. So we make salt jars, calming boxes, we have memory boxes. And that's when I invite the parent or carer in so we can have a family session. We do have a couple of sessions just getting to know each other, so we play games, and after a couple of sessions then we get into the therapy and we get into doing the activities and talking more in depth. I think with bereavement you have to be honest with the child, as honest as you can. As a child grows, their growth will mature as well, and they will ask questions they could already know. And also, if you don't know the whole truth, you start assuming things and making things bigger. But the great thing about this organisation is, as well as the child having support, if the parent feels they need support, they can then refer in. Kind of acknowledging it and talking about it is the first point. And then you can grow from there, regarding your therapy and your bereavement journey.
My name's Bryn Morgan. I'm the bereavement therapist with Jacob Abraham Foundation. In general, the majority of people I support are those bereaved through suicide. Alongside that, I do work with those who are at risk of suicide as well. I have just the understanding of how tricky it can be for men to open up. And I always say probably the biggest thing anyone can do is make that first phone call. And then the hardest thing to do is take the first step into this room. And from there, it gets easier. A lot of my work is noticing the body. It's understanding why you might feel tightness in your chest or why your stomach feels out of sorts. People have experience of going to counselling and it's how are you feeling, how's it going? Where possible, I'll say show me. So show me it, let's bring the emotion out. Let's really bring it to life. And having sort of the space we've got here is really good for that. But I've also taken work outside. I feel the environment is key. In my experience, for men, it's a lot easier to get a coffee and walk and build up almost confidence in my ability and their ability to then say, okay, well, let's now move it into a room, and let's unpick a bit more. I still take a breath when I have to ask someone, are you thinking of taking your own life? But as soon as that happens, majority of the time you just see almost they just take an outward breath of somebody's asked me. I can now talk. The relief of someone gets it. Okay, let's go. We're not scary. You can talk to us. Something I always say is I'm not the police as well. So it's free to talk to me, within confidentiality reasons. It's the more you try and hide away and push it down, and suppress the feeling, the stronger it will grow until it is opening up and saying, actually, I think I could do a bit of help here. You'll never surprise me. The things I've heard, the things people say to me, it's, I won't be shocked. I don't judge. I'm very good at sitting in silence, just letting it be. I always see tears as a thing of beauty because it's releasing the emotion. It's an emotional thing. Our body is doing it, and there's a reason. And the more you hold it back, the more it will hurt, and the more it will bottle up, and it will come out in other ways. It's giving the people the permission to be them within the space and to really be with the here and now. There's times actually where the emotion needs to be there. And that's where we try and create that environment so that if it is anger, it's like, well, let's bring this anger out. You've hidden away from it. You've bottled it. If you bring it into a session, we can really support you. I haven't got a magic wand. I can't get rid of everything and I can't fix it. But what I can support you with is recognizing your own strengths. It will go at your pace. We're here to support you, not to force you. Yeah, pick up the phone and just start the journey.